welcome to World Code. Updates your daily briefing on everything happening around the world. Breaking news: there's a silent war unfolding across the globe. This isn't a conflict fought with soldiers or missiles, but with pipelines, solar panels, and oil tankers quietly shaping the future. Every day, the world's energy arteries pulse with the lifeblood of modern civilization, and the stakes have never been higher. The United States and China are locked in a high-stakes battle for energy dominance, a contest that's playing out not just in government halls, but in boardrooms, construction sites, and research labs around the world. Both nations are racing to secure the resources and technology that will define the next era. The outcome of this struggle could redefine global power for the next century, shifting alliances and redrawing the map of influence. Beneath the daily headlines about trade wars and military posturing lies a deeper, more complex conflict: control over the energy that fuels economies, drives innovation, and projects power across continents. For decades, the U.S. Navy's command of the world's oceans has given Washington unmatched leverage over oil-dependent nations, China chief among them. This maritime dominance has shaped global trade routes and energy flows. Beijing's leaders are acutely aware that a single naval blockade could trigger an economic crisis, cutting off vital energy supplies and threatening national stability. This vulnerability has sparked a massive strategic shift in China's approach to energy security, driving innovation and unprecedented investment. China is now investing trillions to break free from this energy stranglehold, building vast solar farms, diversifying supply chains, and challenging America's long-standing dominance in the global energy arena. The price you pay for gas, the stability of the global economy, and the very balance of power between nations all hinge on the outcome of this contest. Every shift in energy policy ripples through markets and households worldwide. China isn't just securing its own supply, it's forging new alliances, signing international deals, and trying to rewrite the rules of the global energy game to its advantage. This video takes you inside China's secret energy strategy, revealing the hidden moves and bold ambitions shaping the future. We'll examine the vulnerabilities driving Beijing's fears, the bold plans to overcome them, and the technological leaps that could change everything. It's a story of ambition, relentless innovation, and a calculated bid to shift the world's center of gravity, one that could impact us all in ways we're only beginning to understand. China's meteoric economic rise over the past few decades has been fueled by an insatiable thirst for energy, especially oil. As cities expand and industries multiply, the country's hunger for power only grows stronger. Towering skyscrapers, sprawling highways, and a rapidly growing middle class have driven oil demand far beyond what domestic production can supply. The transformation of daily life, from bustling shopping districts to the surge in private car ownership, all adds to this ever-increasing need. Today, China stands as the world's largest importer of crude oil, with its demand growing relentlessly year after year. Massive oil tankers arrive daily, feeding the nation's economic engine. Every new car rolling off the assembly line and every factory built deepens this dependency, making oil the lifeblood of China's modern economy. While the West increasingly talks about cutting oil use and transitioning to renewables, China's energy needs keep rising, driven by urbanization and industrial growth. This relentless demand makes China highly sensitive to global oil prices and vulnerable to supply chain disruptions, as even minor shocks can ripple through its economy. The engine of China's prosperity runs on a resource it doesn't fully control, leaving the nation exposed to risks beyond its borders. To secure its future, Chinese oil companies have invested billions abroad, from Africa to the Middle East. Yet, this reliance on foreign oil creates deep anxiety in Beijing's corridors of power. Economic and political stability are now tied to distant events and foreign suppliers, making China's growth vulnerable to global instability and geopolitical tensions. For China's leaders, energy security is national security. Protecting the flow of oil is seen as vital to the country's future. They've watched the U.S. use energy as a tool of leverage and are determined not to be the next victim of such tactics. The grand strategy is clear. China must wean itself off its dangerous addiction to seaborne oil, investing in pipelines, storage, and alternative routes to secure its future. The stakes could not be higher. The choices China makes today will shape not only its own destiny, but the future of global energy and geopolitics. Most of China's oil arrives by sea, not land. Giant supertankers form a floating pipeline from the Middle East, Africa, and South America to China's ports. This maritime Silk Road is a marvel of logistics and a source of profound vulnerability. Hundreds of tankers are at sea at any moment, delivering millions of barrels to China's bustling ports. The system works, but it's fragile. Ports like Qingdao and Ningbo process and distribute this oil nationwide. Any interruption, however brief, could cause fuel shortages and economic chaos. China's reliance on seaborne oil is a calculated risk, but rising tensions with the US make the risks clearer. The maritime lifeline passes through waters and choke points not fully under China's control. Beijing knows its economic lifeline is dangerously exposed. Protecting this flow, or building alternatives, has become an urgent national priority. The quest for energy security is reshaping China's strategy. Global shipping routes are narrow and vulnerable, passing through strategic choke points like the Strait of Hormuz, Suez Canal, and Strait of Malacca. The U.S. Navy has long dominated these maritime highways, guaranteeing freedom of navigation and holding a powerful weapon. In a conflict, the U.S. could close or control these choke points, cutting off vital resources to adversaries like China. For China, this is an existential threat. Naval blockades can cripple economies without a single shot fired. Chinese strategists know the U.S. could squeeze oil flows in a crisis, paralyzing China's economy. This is what military planners call command of the commons. No matter how strong China becomes at home, it remains vulnerable at sea. This imbalance is America's ace in the hole. It's the single biggest motivation behind China's desperate search for a new energy strategy. China wants to escape reliance on sea lanes controlled by its primary rival. The stakes are nothing less than national survival. The Strait of Malacca is China's greatest energy vulnerability. This narrow waterway carries about 80% of China's oil imports. If blocked, China's economy would suffer a massive shock. This is the Malacca dilemma. The strait is easy to disrupt and heavily patrolled by regional navies and the U.S. In a crisis, the U.S. and allies could seal it off, cutting China's oil flow almost instantly. Chinese leaders have obsessed over this vulnerability for years. Every alternative route is costly and risky, but the threat is unacceptable for a rising superpower. The Malacca dilemma drives China's massive investments in alternative routes and new energy sources. It's a symbol of China's strategic encirclement and the reason for its bold energy strategy. China's answer to the Malacca dilemma is a sweeping, multi-layered strategy designed to secure the nation's future energy needs and shield it from global disruptions. First, overland pipelines. Projects like the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, along with pipelines stretching from Russia, Central Asia, and Myanmar, allow China to bypass vulnerable sea lanes that could be blocked or disrupted in times of crisis. These land routes provide a safer, more reliable flow of oil and gas, reducing the country's exposure to maritime choke points. Second, a national push into renewables. China leads the world in solar and wind power, building vast farms in deserts and remote regions, and installing more clean energy capacity than any other nation. This not only cuts emissions, but also builds a homegrown energy supply that can't be interrupted by foreign powers. This isn't just about the environment, it's about national security. Energy independence is now a top priority at the highest levels of government and military planning. Third, electrification of transport. By switching cars, buses, and trucks to electric, China cuts oil demand at the source, making its economy less vulnerable to oil price shocks or supply disruptions. The government has fueled an EV boom, supporting research, development, and manufacturing. As a result, Chinese companies have become global leaders in batteries and electric vehicles, exporting technology and vehicles worldwide. By running transport on domestically generated electricity, China reduces its reliance on foreign oil, while also modernizing its power grid to handle new demands. These pillars, pipelines, renewables, and electrification, form the backbone of China's energy independence plan, each reinforcing the others to create a resilient system. It's a massive, coordinated effort to escape the old energy order, requiring investment, innovation, and long-term vision across every sector of society. The goal: make China immune to foreign energy leverage, ensuring that no outside force can threaten its growth or stability. The stakes: nothing less than the nation's future. The world is watching as China rewrites the rules of energy security. China's push into renewables is about more than carbon. It's about global leadership. China now dominates clean energy manufacturing. Over 70% of solar panels, half of wind turbines, and most battery minerals come from China. This was no accident. Massive state support and industrial policy made it happen. Now countries worldwide depend on Chinese technology for their green transitions. The dependency is shifting from oil controlled by the US and Middle East to clean tech controlled by Beijing. China is building renewable projects at a scale that dwarfs the rest of the world. Its electric vehicle market is booming, creating a virtuous cycle between clean energy and transport. The more China electrifies, the less oil it needs. China isn't just escaping the old order, it's building and leading a new one. While building its green future, China still needs oil, now. To secure supplies and reduce US leverage, Beijing buys from sanctioned nations like Iran, Venezuela, and Russia. This creates a shadow oil market, operating outside the US dollar and financial system. China gets discounted oil, lowering its energy bill and sidestepping American sanctions. These deals often use the yuan and opaque payment channels to avoid detection. Strategically, China builds alliances with countries eager to resist US influence. By providing an economic lifeline to sanctioned states, Beijing strengthens its geopolitical partnerships. This undermines US sanctions, making them less effective. The risk friction with the US and exposure to penalties. But China calculates the benefits outweigh the risks. The shadow market is a ruthless, pragmatic move in the global energy game. It ensures oil keeps flowing, even from America's adversaries. The result, a more complex, multipolar world. China is rewriting the rules. China's energy security strategy includes two more pillars: stockpiling and boosting domestic production. China has quietly built a massive strategic petroleum reserve, enough to keep the country running for months if imports stop. This buffer blunts the impact of any blockade, raising the cost for would-be adversaries. At the same time, China is maximizing domestic oil and gas output with advanced technology and new exploration. Every barrel produced at home is one less vulnerable to foreign control. Together, pipelines, renewables, electrification, shadow markets, stockpiling, and domestic production. These moves systematically dismantle US energy leverage. As China shifts to energy independence, the foundation of American power in Asia is challenged. The world's balance of power is changing permanently.